Hey, good evening, everybody. 5 News Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert here. Wanted to jump on our Facebook live stream as well as on 5 News Plus and give you a bit of information about some ongoing flooding, primarily across Benton and northern Washington counties. It's really an isolated, complex area of storms that is continuing to train over the same areas over and over. These storms also aren't moving much at all, and that is a classic recipe for some flash flooding. We've got 3 flash flood warnings currently in effect, and generally speaking, we're talking about broadly that 412 corridor from Siloam Springs through Springdale, north through Lowell and Rogers, back towards Gentry. It's these maroon polygons. Those are the actual flash flood warnings that we've got. Anywhere between 3 to 4 inches of rain has already fallen over the last couple of hours as these storms have moved through. And as you can see, back off towards Delaware County in Oklahoma, which also is included in portions of this flash flood warning, northern Adair County there as well. All of this is slowly drifting off towards the east, generally about 10 to 15 miles per hour, and certainly not any quicker than that. So with that slow storm motion, the flooding that could potentially be ongoing right now, likely going to be exacerbated just a bit over the next couple of hours. These flash flood warnings set to expire at 2:45 this morning. If there's not already some flooding in those low-lying areas, the ditches, some creeks, probably is going to be in the next couple of minutes. I want to walk through a couple of things with you here. First of which is going to be how much rain we've seen in just the last 12 hours alone. These are going to be some Doppler radar estimates, and it continues to add up somewhat quickly there. You'll notice, especially between Rogers and Lowell, right there along 49 and 71, that's where we've seen the most amount of rain thus far. Keep in mind, everything that's back towards Gentry, Decatur, and Siloam, that cluster of heavy rain is about to move on top of everything that's already fallen out there, and that's going to give us some additional cause for concern in terms of additional flash flooding. So again, if it's not happening yet, there's a good chance it's probably going to be over the next couple of minutes. These are Doppler radar estimates. They're not perfect. Your rain gauges at home are going to look a little bit different, but anytime we're talking about numbers like this in the matter of about a couple of hours, obviously you're going to have some flooding out there. The other thing that is of interest to me, and I know this map looks a little psychedelic, if you will. We don't show it on air a whole lot. What I'm showing you, though, is rainfall rates per hour. And that is going to show you, went a little too far. Let me back that up. What that's going to show you is we're seeing more rain per hour than normal, which isn't necessarily surprising given how much moisture is in the atmosphere. I know you've felt that humidity in recent days. That all factors into this. But generally speaking, as you kind of see some of the numbers here, 1 to 2 inches per hour. And obviously this little sector right here, just to the southeast of Gentry, east of Siloam Springs, closing in on Heifel, probably right in that area, you're probably going to end up finding a little bit more than that, right? So we're talking about 1 hour of rain totaling up to north of 2 inches in parts of the storm. Not everyone's seeing that much, but key takeaway here is there's so much moisture in the atmosphere with these storms not moving much at all. If you were to tally up how much rain those rain gauges are reading within just a 60 minutes time, it's a decent amount. And so it's part of the reason why I wanted to jump on here this evening. It's almost morning, right? And give you an update of kind of what's going on out there. A lot of folks probably in Washington and Benton County are awake, just given how much lightning and thunder has been noted in these cells. This is a live look in Rogers right now, looking off towards the southwest. Here's the embassy right here. Of course, here's going to be Topgolf right over in this general direction, just giving you some landmarks for some context. Here's I-49. Traffic's going to be a little bit slower out there. Here in a minute, we'll take a look and see if there aren't any accidents. Thankfully, this time of night, there's not as much traffic out there, so maybe we're going to be in okay shape, at least a little bit. In Bentonville, where the rain's not near as heavy, we're on the north side of that heavy blob. This is Walton Boulevard. You can see not a lot of folks out, but certainly getting a little bit of rain out there from that. Taking a look at all of our cameras, you'll notice things are really quiet in the River Valley. Not to say there might not be some scattered activity, but primarily this complex of storms is really just impacting Benton County. So you look from Fayetteville towards the north end of Benton County in that cell. You're looking at it from Springdale here from our Holiday Inn camera, and of course looking at it from Bentonville as well. There's a lot of lightning out there, so if Mother Nature's waking you up early in the morning, you're trying to get an idea of, Scott, what's going on, I wanted to be here as a resource for you, just to kind of walk you through what is happening and what isn't happening. There's no active severe weather right now. At times, this cell has tried to get its act together. Thus far, though, primarily, it's just been a heavy rain producer. You can see as radar scans the skies through the river valley right now. It's not detecting anything at all. So we focus back into this cluster of cells, really between, let's say, Colcord, Siloam Springs, Gentry, off towards the east through Taneytown, Springdale, points towards the north up towards Rogers. If you're just now finding us on the live stream, let me back up and kind of give you a primer of what's happening out there right now. That one cluster of storms has a lot of moisture available to it. So much humidity is in the atmosphere. That, coupled with slow storm motion, has resulted in some flash flooding out there. I did get a report from Cave Springs from a viewer that's already picked up 4 inches. And honestly, that was about 15 minutes ago. So there's certainly potentially some more rain than that falling out there right now. Here is Bentonville, where we had a look earlier. You can see, yeah, you're going to get some moderate rainfall, but the heaviest of activity right now in Rogers, getting ready to move back towards Lowell. Springdale's getting a nice thunderstorm as well. You good travel west on 412 through Taneytown. Rain's about to pick up pretty heavy there as well. Right now, it's this cluster right here. As denoted by those darker reds, and of course you get a little bit of lightning out there as well. That's the most intense portion of that cell where the heaviest of rain is falling right now. What you'll find is that's where we're going to continue to track off towards the east. And my concern there is it's already dumped, you can see 3 to 4 inches potentially, radar estimate, right? 3 to 4 inches, and it's pushing off towards the east. Does that mean we end up with 8 in Lowell and Rogers? No, not necessarily. What it means though is the 4 inches we've seen already in this part of the area, it probably ends up going to be much more than that. So we've got to watch that really closely. It really is all going to come down to these rainfall rates. And I'm watching this really closely this evening, just given how intense they are. In fact, what I'll do is I'll take some of those numbers off. And we're going to go in a little bit closer to where that bullseye is, and it's pretty easy to pinpoint that dark purple right there. So here's going to be Springtown, here's Gentry. We're closing in on Highfill here soon. We have a calibrated weather sensor here, of course, at the airport that's managed and quality controlled. So as that passes over here in the next little bit, and it's slow moving, right? So it's not going to be immediately. We'll probably get a very accurate measurement of how much rain's falling out of this. We're not going to have to rely so much on the Doppler radar to give us an estimate. We'll actually have an exact total, but that is moving due east, so it's going to be pushing off towards Rogers and Lowell here real soon as well. But it is this cluster right here near Osage Hill Road, north of Highway 412, just to the right now. It's just to the east of State Highway 264, is where we're finding the most intense rainfall. Go back to those rainfall rates, those 60-minute windows. You're about 2 inches. Okay, it just came down a little bit there as that storm moved a little bit, but generally speaking, around 2 inches where it's heaviest. Let's hope those numbers continue to fall down. That certainly needs to be the case out there this evening. I'm going to pull up some of the rainfall totals that we've seen over the last 12 hours. These are at those airport locations. Again, so the difference with these are they're actually real numbers, like we're getting real measurements with these, but they still might look a little bit different than your rain gauge in your front yard or your backyard, just given proximity to where it's at. But you saw that just jumped up to almost 3.5 inches at exiting. So we saw that number come in live as that update just passed through. Rogers Executive Airport, almost 1.3 inches of rain right now. So right now the concern is the flooding potential. Not too concerned with severe weather this evening. I don't want to rule it out entirely, but really the focus for this stream and for the next couple of hours until we can get this cluster of storms out of the area is going to be the likelihood for flooding. And I think we can move past potential and we can go ahead and classify this as likelihood, just given how much rain's already fallen. When you're seeing 3.5 inches of rain in only a matter of a couple of hours there at the airport, you got some more moving into the area. It's a given that you're probably going to end up having those flooding concerns. A lot of lightning and a lot of thunder out there with this cluster. Let me do this for us. Let's put this on a 1-hour radar loop, and what you're going to find is it ain't moving much at all. In fact, at one point, it really wasn't moving more than about 5 or 6 miles per hour. It's really just training over the same area over and over and over again. It's not a good signal for us. I don't necessarily feel very much comfort with this, just given it's not moving. And until it either moves or just dies out completely, our concern for flooding is going to continue out there for us. Expect this to continue slowly drifting off towards the east, but you notice back in Delaware County, there's some additional development back here as well. So all of that either has to die out or it's traveling towards the east. Right now, there are 3 flash flood warnings in effect. We'll have to see what is going to happen in northern Benton County, back into portions of northern Delaware County as well. Right now, that's more moderate, but at times you can see some red pixels here mixing in, which would indicate some heavier downpours, the worst of which is along the 412 corridor between Siloam Springs, Springdale, points up towards Rogers, and you can see that co-locates with where the flood warnings are right now. Let me do this. I'm going to go over here to a different computer, and I'm going to check the RDOT map and just see if we don't have any accidents out there up and down 49. Often, of course, as you're well aware, that is the case when you have heavy rainfall like this. And I'm afraid, let's see here, pull this up. It's a little after midnight tonight, a lot of lightning and a lot of thunder out there. It's very loud thunder. You're probably hearing a lot of those rumbles. It's waking you up in the middle of the night. Good sleeping weather for some, a little uncomfortable for others. And for you folks, wanted to be here and give you an idea of what's happening and what's not. There are no active accidents up and down 49, which is some good news for us at the moment. I'll keep watching that. I'm taking a live look outside from a few of our different tower cameras. What you're going to find, I got the top row of these cameras in northwest Arkansas. A lot of lightning and a lot of thunder out there. This is from downtown Fayetteville, which is actually dry at the moment and may end up staying dry into the overnight hours. There's a pretty sharp cutoff around the Springdale area, where points to the north getting those heavy downpours, points to the south, it's a bit more spotty in nature. A lot of mosquitoes and bugs here in Podo. Things are pretty quiet right there. Temperatures where we've seen the rain, it's obviously much cooler. Where you've not seen rain in the River Valley, it's warm and it's muggy. We'll go back to live radar here. Current time is 12:04. So here's kind of my plan for this, the next couple of minutes. I'm going to walk you through what we're seeing one more time. Going to give you that cycle one more time for the folks that might just now be joining us. And then I'll probably end up leaving this stream on live radar until there are updates to pass along. I'm not going to go anywhere, but in terms of continuous coverage, I'll probably just mute my microphone, go do some more data analysis off camera, but should there be something to pass along to you, I'll come right back here. So just know this, if you need to go back to bed tonight, you want to check back in 15, 20, 30 minutes, as long as there's a potential for this, we'll keep the stream live and cut in when needed. Right now in northwest Arkansas, it's your only concern. Boy, there's a lot of good soaking rains, and it does, let me back this up a little bit. I'm kind of curious what's happening a little more over in Delaware County. That's what's to come. You can see from the Tulsa radar, there is some additional development through Jay-Bullhalla and Kansas, Colcord as well. That is going to have to drift off towards the east. So this is the most intense portions of the rainfall right now. That's moving through Highfield, Springtown, off towards the east, soon into Rogers, Lowell, Cave Springs. Cave City is northeast Arkansas. Cave Springs, which we already had about 4 inches of rain already. Centerton, probably getting a little bit of that heavy rain there as well. I think it's just going to be just the worst off just to your south there in Centerton, but nonetheless, some good soaking downpours pretty much all across Benton County. Bella Vista has seen a decent amount of rain. Yes, you have. I'm not seeing much in the way of a flooding concern right now at the moment. We'll watch to see if this doesn't intensify into some heavier downpours. Off towards the east, of course, through War Eagle, Gateway, Avoca. Yeah, you got some rain, but right now the main flooding concern is right here and then points off towards the east. I wouldn't be surprised that these flood warnings may be extended a little bit further towards the east, eventually over into the War Eagle area, assuming these storms can move. And really, they're just not moving at all. I'm going to loop this. This is going to be for the last hour. And they're just not moving. They continue just to precipitate. There's a lot of heavy rain, and that's the issue, is not only is it not moving, the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, we call it precipitable water, PWATS. It's a thing we look at off air. Rarely does it ever make the news. It's the amount of water in the atmosphere from ground to the cloud, and those numbers are really high. No duh. There's a lot of humidity out there, and that's what's fueling these showers. They're not dissipating, unfortunately. That's a concern for us. So here's what we got out there right now. Flash flood warning. We've seen a decent amount of rain. In fact, I want to see if I can just read the warning text to you, if there's anything of interest there. the warning text for one of these says 1 to 3, but of course I got that report of 4, and I tend to believe the 4 is going to be a little bit more accurate out there. So flash flooding is probably going to begin shortly. It's going to start in those small creeks, those streams, those low-lying areas. You know where those are. If you're prone to flooding, that's probably already ongoing. Even if you're not, I think that potential still is going to exist. Now, I don't want to jinx us, but as I look at this 1-hour loop a couple more times, there is a subtle, and I need to underscore subtle, weakening trend maybe taking place with some of this. But you also notice there is more development off towards the backside of it, off towards the west in Delaware County. So while what is happening in more so Benton County proper is somewhat optimistic, it's not as organized, kind of starting to see more of those greens mix in, a bit more scattered in nature. There's a bit more development off towards the west. So we'll have to see if that doesn't try to track our direction, or does it end up just fizzling out on its own. So let me do this. I'm going to mute my microphone. We're going to leave live radar right here. We'll continue pulsing through some updates for you over the next few minutes. I'll be right back here. Let's say, give me about 5 more minutes, and I'll check back in with you about 12:13. All right, time now is 12:14. Trevor, my director up in the booth. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and do a quick cut in over on Channel 5 on the air. While we're getting ready for that, I'm going to stand by and let Trevor get our transmitter fired up, and then we'll give you the latest briefing on what's happening out there this morning. Okay. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm 5 News Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert. Current time is 12:15 on your Friday morning. Ongoing flash flooding across a good majority of Benton County this morning. We've got a cluster of thunderstorms that just aren't moving a lot. There's so much moisture in the atmosphere, they're able to produce a lot of rain. We've seen anywhere between 3 upwards of probably 5 inches of rain at this point, especially along the 412 corridor between Siloam Springs through Highfill, Springdale, Rogers, Lowell as well. That's where we've got 3 flash flood warnings in effect right now, and these are going to run until around 3 o'clock in the morning, shortly there before that. My suspicion is, though, that they'll probably need to be extended. Here's live radar. This is looping over the last hour, and what you're noticing is there's really just no storm motion at all. Now, there are some indications that these showers are starting to rain themselves out. You're not finding as much organization. There's more greens, which indicate lower rainfall rate values, but there's still ongoing flash flooding out there. When we take a look at rainfall estimates over just the last 12 hours alone, and most of this has fallen really in the last 2 hours, we've already got radar estimates of nearly 5 inches along 71 between Lowell and Rogers, and that would include I-49 corridor there as well. Back up towards the west, we're getting close to 4.5 inches out there. Now, these are rainfall estimates based off of a radar. Your rain gauge is probably going to look a little bit different, but we're talking about some serious amount of rain in a really short amount of time. And that's why flooding is going to continue to be a problem for us. When you look at rainfall rates that are ongoing right now, this isn't actually how much rain has fallen. This is how much rain will fall in the next 60 minutes, assuming these storms don't move. And what you're going to find, we've got some really high totals here. Those purples there indicate 2 to 3 inches per hour. Again, keep in mind that's on top of what has already fallen across portions of Benton County that we've already seen, and that's already causing issues in runoff. We're looking at 1 to 3 inches of rain additionally per hour with just the cell that's right here on top of us. Keep in mind there's additional light rain up towards Gravette, Bella Vista, and Bentonville. More of these showers are also extending back off towards the west into Delaware County, Oklahoma. Some of that activity may end up working its way our direction over into Benton County as well. So the ongoing situation right now is this. A widespread flash flooding is now being reported to us with several inches of rain that's already fallen. Additional rainfall very well could continue over the next couple of hours. So if you're in Benton County, right now it's not a good time to be out on the roadways if you're within these warning polygons. I'd say Bentonville, Bella Vista, you're in okay shape right now, but let's watch to make sure problems don't start to occur in your neighborhood. Rogers, Lowell, back towards Highfill, Centerton, Gentry, Siloam Springs, Tawnytown. That's where we're having the most issues out there right now. Let me do this. There's a lot of lightning and a lot of thunder waking a lot of folks up early this morning. I will tell you, aside from the flooding concerns, there's no actual severe thunderstorm warnings. With that said, if you're hearing all that thunder, as we are, especially across northwest Arkansas, things are really quiet in the River Valley. There could be a couple of thunderstorms there, but I think for the most part, a lot of this is going to stay confined to northwest Arkansas. Not seeing those lightning strikes right now, which is a good sign. Perhaps that means these thunderstorms are finally starting to taper off. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready in the next couple of moments to take regular Channel 5 back to your regularly scheduled programming. Our coverage of these showers and thunderstorms and the flooding that's ongoing will continue over on 5 News Plus. That's our free app. Of course, you know how to find Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick. I'm also live streaming right now on Facebook and YouTube, popping in from time to time with updates there. You can find our coverage there. We'll check back in with you as things continue to evolve here on air as well as online in the next few minutes. But for now, we can go ahead and take Channel 5 back to regularly scheduled programming. Our streaming coverage will continue online. All right, we are off of the air. Thanks for standing by and letting us make that transition there over for the folks watching us online. I'll do this. I'll promise you another update here in the next 5 or so minutes. I will tell you I'm a little bit more encouraged by the continued, I'd say, weakening trend over the last few minutes. This is going to be another 1 hour radar loop. I'm going to zoom back out just a little bit, just so we have a good idea of exactly what's happening out there. I'm going to also look at it from the Tulsa radar, which is going to show us the same storms, but as you well know, just a little bit different of a vantage point, gives us another perspective on how things are unfolding. This is some very intense heavy rain right in this general vicinity right here. So we're talking right on top of Highfield, Cave Springs, Centerton, off towards the east. That is going to exacerbate flooding concerns. The good news is, if anything, it's starting to slowly trend down. It's intense right now, and the runoff is there, but I do think we're seeing a gradual weakening trend with this. I don't necessarily love that there's additional development back building in Delaware County. We'll have to see what that ends up doing. It's my hope that it'll just fizzle out, but it's possible it begins to train into parts of Benton County on top of everything else there as well. Okay, I'll be back here in about 5 minutes with additional information for you. All right, current time is 12:28. I want to get you set up with another update as to what we're looking at out there. Still seeing a bit of a gradual weakening trend. With that said, another burst of heavy rain is likely about to be moving back into the Rogers Lowell area, where we do have reports of water that's relatively high. So I've also got a report out of the Maysville Fire Department that they have been conducting at least one swiftwater rescue out there. So flooding is ongoing, rain's continuing, and while things are slowly and gradually weakening, and you can denote that by the fewer reds, more greens. In simple terms, that means less heavy rain, more light rain, which rain is going to be bad no matter what, on top of everything we've already seen, but at least we're starting to see those rainfall rates start to come down. A little bit too late. We've already seen a lot of rain, so even that moderate rain that's continuing is going to be a problem for us. Right now, we do have 3 flash flood warnings in effect. Those are going to be probably extended. We may even have another one before the morning is over with. Overall, things are starting to trend in a little bit more favorable direction. The one question I still have is, are we going to see this activity in Delaware County weekend, or does it inevitably push into portions of Benton County? Right now, it's staying somewhat stationary, which in of itself is going to likely result in some additional flash flooding. There's where 1 or 2 of those more additional warnings may end up being issued for Colcord, Jay, Bullhalla, Kansas, West Siloam Springs, potentially impacted by that activity that's developing out there. I want to go through the rainfall totals that radar has estimated thus far. These numbers haven't changed a whole lot, but they are slowly starting to tick up. These are 12-hour rainfall estimates based off the radar alone, but I do know from some of your reports that I've already received that these are really verifying 4 to 5 inches of rain between Gentry and Lowell. Gentry, Rogers, that's where we've seen the swath of the most rain. The thing to keep in mind, I know this has 12-hour rainfall estimate, and it is 12 hours, but a lot of this has actually fallen in the last hour and a half to 2. Really probably closer to an hour and a half, if we're being quite honest. That's a lot of rain in a very short amount of time. That's why the rain that's moving in right now concerns me a little bit, that we're going to continue to see issues, especially in Rogers and Lowell, where we've seen the most. That's not to say we might not see issues elsewhere, but that right now is where we've seen the bulk of the activity. I want to do this. I want to go in a little bit closer. You can see right along Cave Springs, Highfield, Gentry, right there along Highway 12 into Lowell. Things are really right there along that Highway 12 corridor. The interesting thing here is we have a calibrated weather sensor. So these are, of course, radar estimates, but at the airport there at XNA, we're actually able to look at exact numbers of what's actually been measured by the official weather stations. We pull that up in real time. What we're going to see here is that these numbers are still right around 3.5 inches. Now, I'll tell you, this updated in real time. Last time I showed this here on the stream, and it was this exact number. And I know there's been heavy rainfall since this is updated, so I suspect the next time we check in on the XNA weather sensor, it's going to have updated and we'll have a more accurate reading. Rogers was around the same number, so I suspect that's also actually a little bit out of date. That data will be pushed out here probably in the next little bit, and we'll be able to pass along actual totals versus just the radar estimates. Any way you look at it, we've got a somewhat serious situation right now in Benton County. You'll notice this complex of storms is relatively compact, meaning it's really only impacting a small geographical area. A ton of people live in Benton County, right? So it's impacting a lot of folks, just a small geographical area. The River Valley, we're dry out there this evening. We're dry, we're muggy, but it's right now primarily impacting Benton County. Now, at times in the Springdale, the Washington County side, we've seen a little bit of rain, technically included in that flash flood warning there as well. You've got some rain in northern Madison, western Carroll County, but when it comes to where the flooding is ongoing right now, it's definitively going to be 412, Highway 12, from the state line over towards Rogers Lowell, 49, pretty much the state line to 49 between Siloam Springs and Rogers. That's where we have the worst issues ongoing for us right now. I'll take another closer look, and what I want to do here is loop this again. So that's what radar shows us right now, and the concern here is this cluster of red and orange where we've got that 1 to 2 inch rainfall rates per hour. Although it is weakening, that's what it's currently producing. This is slowly drifting back over into an area that's already seen a lot of rain and where flooding has already been confirmed, where we do have neighborhoods that have a lot of water rushing through the streets. And we're talking a lot of water. Some of the neighborhood videos that I've seen, it looks like just creeks there are little rivers running through some neighborhoods. In fact, one of those was Bellevue Estates in Rogers. That's where we have ongoing flooding out there. This is likely going to be moving in right on top of it over the next couple of minutes. Now let's loop that over the last hour to get an idea of how much more of this are we going to have to endure before it either fizzles out completely or moves out of the area. You'll notice here there's very little movement at all. So this thing's going to need to weaken itself really before the threat's completely over. Right now, it's just spinning pretty much on top of each other, on top of an area that's already produced a lot of rainfall. Lightning has come down as well. So not only are we seeing more greens, which indicates some lower rainfall rates, but we're also starting to see less lightning. And that also tells us maybe this thing's losing a little bit of its steam. There was near constant lightning and thunder about an hour ago, and I don't think you can necessarily say that right now. There's still some rumbles of thunder, there's still some flashes of lightning, but generally speaking, we're in a little bit better shape than we were earlier this morning, about an hour or so ago. Nonetheless, we've seen a lot of rain. This is slowly drifting now back on top of that 49 corridor and eventually over towards 71 as well. If you live anywhere between Bentonville and Springdale, you probably need to be mindful of ongoing flash flooding. If it's not ongoing right now, you get this next batch to move into your area, and that's likely going to start to produce some additional flooding on top of what we're already seeing out there. I want to jump over to my rainfall rate map. This can look a little interesting for us. Let me take off some of those numbers and we'll get fresh data to pull in. Of note that I also find comforting a little bit here that maybe we're starting to see things slowly, and that's the keyword, slowly improve for us. Earlier when I showed this map, there was a lot of purples here, and now there's just some reds and oranges, which I know is a very simplistic way of looking at things, but the fact is I know it's a little after 12:30 in the morning, and the last thing you want to do is listen to a science lesson. The brighter the colors, the more rainfall rates per hour. The less bright the colors, the more dull they are, so we get some yellows and greens, blues. That's less rain per hour. Now let's dive into the actual rainfall rates here. Yeah, so we're looking at about 1 to let's say 1.5 inches per hour. That's a lot better than the 2 to 3 we were seeing a little bit earlier ago. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this back on live radar. We're going to continue working to get some more information on those swiftwater rescues. Give me about 5 more minutes to do a little bit more work, and then we'll be back with another update as to what we're seeing on live radar. All right, current time is 12:41. For those still watching our live streams here on 5 News Plus, Facebook, YouTube, and your mobile app, I do want to give you a heads up. We're about to go back on Channel 5 live on television. So I'm going to give it just a second for us to get that transmitter fired up and get live over there. And then we'll be setting you up with a briefing with some new information to pass along to you with regards to some road closures. Hey, good morning, everybody on Channel 5. Current time is 12:41. I'm 5 News Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert, tracking ongoing flooding across Benton County right now. Things are very localized across Benton County, but widespread flooding has been reported with additional rain falling right now. That's only going to make matters worse. We'll take a live look into Benton County, where we continue to see these showers not move much at all. If there's any good news, they are starting to trend downward in terms of intensity. We're not finding as many really bright reds, and while I know that sounds very simplistic, those colors are going to correlate with how heavy the rain's falling. And what we're finding is there's more greens out there from Bella Vista through Decatur and even parts of Rogers, where now the rain's a little bit lighter. But you notice where we've got these pockets of some more intense rainfall. That's unfortunately falling at an area that's already seen 4 to 5 inches of rain, where flash flooding is ongoing right now. And so that's only going to make matters worse out there. For that reason, we do have a flash flood warning in effect for, there's technically 3 of them, but this is going to go into effect for at least the next 2 hours. We'll have to see if the water can recede quick enough to allow those to expire at 2:45. Along Arkansas 412, along Highway 12 from Highfill through Cave Springs, through Rogers, Lowell, Tawnytown even, that's where we're seeing the most intense flooding and rainfall right now. Some areas of concern: South Cave Springs, Wagon Wheel Road, especially Wagon Wheel at Cross Creek. We've also seen some issues at Bellevue Estates in Rogers. Rainbow Road, Cave Springs / Rogers, that's an area that we've seen some concerns out there here this morning. Let me do this. Let me put on 12-hour rainfall estimates so you can get the scope of what's happening out there. And you can see that swath from the state line near Siloam and Gentry all the way over towards Rogers and Lowell. That's where we've seen the most amount of rainfall. Of course, the map here says 12-hour rainfall estimates, but the fact is a lot of this has fallen in just the last couple of hours alone. So you go ahead and take a look at some of those rainfall accumulation totals. There along 49, Rogers Low, we're talking 5 inches of rain. Along Highway 12, around 4 to 5 inches. Near Gentry, almost 5 inches. So you get the picture that a lot of rain has fallen in this sector, this little area right here. A short amount of time, it doesn't have time to absorb in the ground. It starts to run off, and that's where we start to see the creeks rise, the rivers rise. Low-lying areas often prone to some flooding. You start to see those issues really exasperate. So that's how much rain we've gotten thus far. The question now becomes how much more additional rain is set to come on top of this. When we look at our rainfall rates, which is a way of seeing how intense these storms are, they're coming down. Though a couple of times ago when we checked in on this, we saw a lot of bright purples. And again, I know that's super simplistic, but it's also 12:45 in the morning. I don't want to give you a hardcore science lesson when we've got major issues ongoing. The brighter the colors, kind of like what we're seeing up towards Highway 72, Northwest Benton County, that's some really intense rainfall. That's 1 to 3 inches per hour. You start to see some of these oranges and reds. While that is a decent amount of rain, unfortunately falling kind of where it has already had some issues. We're talking about around an inch or so. This is trending down. That's a good news, but we don't really need a quarter of an inch additional rainfall. We don't need another ½ inch, and we really don't need another inch. So we need this to continue to weaken and diminish and let those waters recede. Unfortunately, that has not happened, and we do have some swiftwater rescues that have been ongoing. I'll pass along some information from the Maysville Rural Fire Department. They've had some swiftwater rescues out there this morning already. They're asking if you don't have to go anywhere, please don't. Stay off the roadways. And it also looks like the Lowell Fire Department has had to close some roads. Let me tell you what is closed right now. According to the Lowell Fire Department, Puppy Creek Road, that's going to be near Gold Springs intersection, West Monroe Avenue there at Weatherton Subdivision, Bellevue Street, north of West Monroe. Those are some roads that are closed They are describing it as significant rainfall this morning. I would certainly echo those sentiments. It is, in fact, significant rainfall. Rates are coming down. That's the only good news out there. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late. We've got major flash flooding across a good section of Benton County. Here's Gentry, here's Highway 12, all the way through Highfield, XNA. We're going to get some new data coming in from the weather sensor there here real soon. That goes right into Cave Springs. That goes right into Rogers. Rainbow Road, of course, that's where we've seen a lot of that flooding out there this morning as well. Lowell has seen some reporting of some flooding, and we're starting to see more pictures and videos being sent in, shared along social media that is indicating that waters have risen. If you have pictures, reports, or videos that you can share with us, we can pass these along to the Weather Service in hopes of keeping those warnings active and folks safe. 479-785-5000. That's the number here at the television station. Again, 479-785-5000. Let me give you one more check of live radar here on Channel 5 before we get ready to send you back to regularly scheduled programming. We are going to continue our coverage of these showers and these thunderstorms over on 5 News Plus. That's our free mobile app. That's our free app for your Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, and your Roku devices. And I'm also broadcasting live right now on Facebook and YouTube. I want to be anywhere you could possibly need us to be this morning if you're living in one of these flooded areas. So that's where you can find us, and we'll continue the stream live up until the point the waters have receded. Current time is a little before 12:50 this morning as we continue to track these showers and these thunderstorms. Flooding is ongoing across Benton County. We'll check back in with you here in about 10 minutes on Channel 5. We'll go ahead and take you back to regularly scheduled programming. All right, if everyone here is on our streaming apps platforms, thanks for allowing us to make that adjustment there. Getting the transmitter fired up and turned back over to whatever's airing on Channel 5 right now. Looks like it's a bit of a game show. Unfortunately, things aren't too fun for us right now in Benton County. This is weakening really quickly. That's the good news. In fact, this isn't moving any at all. This cluster of storms is pretty much just staying put, but at least it's starting to weaken. I will point out this to you, however. In Delaware County, this hasn't weakened much at all. In fact, it's kind of come together in a very similar fashion that the activity back towards Rogers and Lowell has come together earlier this morning. A decent amount of those reds would just indicate to us some pretty heavy rainfall. Some of that may be trying to drift over into far northwestern Benton County. That's where we did see some higher rainfall rates just a moment ago. So let me do this. Let me go back over to that product. Yeah, I'm kind of starting to see that. Let's zoom in a little bit tighter here. These numbers starting to come down, but come up here west of Gravette. So we're talking west of Sulphur Springs along 20 and 43 at those highways ring a bell to you. It looks like this is going to be Beatty Road right here, Honey Creek Road. We're talking way far northwest of Benton County, but that's where the rainfall rates at this point around 1 inch or so per hour. Seeing something very similar here in Sycamore. That's going to be, of course, in Delaware County right there, coming into the Arkansas side of the border. Some of that may try to drift over towards Gravette. A lot of this hasn't moved much at all. Instead, it's actually been kind of just sitting and staying put. Hasn't done a lot of actual movement out there for us. Let me go back to something else before we take another quick reset. I want to go back to our XNA weather sensor and see if that's updated for us. Let's see, is it coming together? Okay, now still saying 3.46, but I know we've seen more rain since then, so I know that number is going to have to update. It just hasn't updated for us just yet. In fact, most of those updates come through at around 12:53, so we're 53 minutes after the hour, so we're probably a few more minutes away from that updating. We'll check back in next time. One more thing I want to point out to you that I'm starting to feel a little bit better about. Those rainfall rates in Rogers and Bentonville have come down just drastically, really quickly. Still some moderate to heavy rainfall, especially south of Bentonville. You get towards the fairgrounds, there in Rogers, Cave Springs, of course, at the AMP and Mercy NWA, where we do have a camera. But when you look at the rainfall rates, they're still elevated, but this is a far cry from the 2 to 3 inches an hour we saw a little bit earlier. It's still a respectable amount of rain, 1-ish inch if you round all these numbers up to that 1 inch mark. So it's still pouring out there in an area that is deluged with standing water. And we're talking several inches of standing water, kind of depending on where you're at and the elevation, things of that nature. So this isn't necessarily the best news, but it's getting better, if you will. It's getting better, and it is doing so somewhat quickly. Every time we check in on this product, these numbers are coming down a little bit more, a little bit more. So hopefully we can see a little bit of progress here over the next few minutes. Let me do this. Let's pull up our Rogers camera here. This is going to be situated right here on top of the Mercy Hospital camera along 49. And I've got it pointed. Let's see, why is that not loading for me? I've got this thing pointed towards the AMP. When it loads up here, looks like things are moving pretty smoothly there on 49, so no major issues there. Although when the cars do go by, you can see a bit of a splash there. So I would suspect that travel is pretty slow up and down 49 through this moderate to heavy rainfall, in addition to the potential of some flooding, of course, out there this morning. So that's going to continue to be a problem for us until this thing can fizzle out. The good news is right now it's doing just that. It's fizzling out pretty quickly. So just like we did last time, I'm going to go ahead and take you back to live radar. We're going to zoom real tight into Benton County, where these showers continue for us this morning. I'm going to mute my microphone. I'm going to keep analyzing things off air, and I'll touch base with you here, let's say, in about 5 more minutes with some additional updates. And my hope at that point is that things have improved even more than kind of where they're at right now. But I do sense that we're starting to see the tail end of this finally come through for us, and maybe we can get those waters to recede. That's a 1-hour loop, and you can kind of see the same trend here. Things are not near as intense as they were at the top of the hour, and you bring it to current right there. Yeah, there's still some moderate to heavy rain, Bentonville, Rogers. We're really going to want to watch northwest Benton County. So we're talking northwest of Decatur, and of course we need to watch Delaware County there as well. But things are starting to look a little bit better based off of radar presentation alone, which is some good news for us there. All right, good morning, everybody. 109, time for another update as to what we're looking at out there. Right now, things are slowly but surely improving across portions of Benton County, but we still continue to see rainfall. We've picked up 4 to 5 inches of rain. Broadly speaking, that was generally between, let's say, Siloam Springs into Rogers and Lowell. Cave Springs, that's where we've seen the highest amounts of rainfall, about 5 or so inches in those higher totals. You can see some light rain there continues this morning, and so that's only going to continue to pile up. Now you'll notice on this trend, this loop, this is a 1-hour radar loop, you find that those reds are starting to disappear. That means the heavy rainfall is slowly weakening into some lighter rainfall. Still rain on top of flooding, so it's not going to help any, but at least things are improving across the hardest hit areas from Rogers, Lowell, Cave Springs. With that said, we've also got a new flash flood warning for Delaware County. This is going to include the area of Jay. Heavy rain continues there, and it's hard to ignore the fact there's also moderate to heavy rainfall north of Decatur, northwest of Decatur, west of Gentry. That too probably needs to be watched somewhat closely for the potential for some additional flooding out there this morning. I want to do this. Let's go back to our, well, actually I want to back up. Before we go to radar estimates, if you were with us on the stream a little bit earlier ago, I was waiting for the XNA rainfall sensor to update, and it has updated, and what it shows us is something that's actually correlating with our radar estimates really well. Sometimes there's discrepancy, but in this case the XNA weather sensor has picked up 4.57 inches of rain, and all of that started falling at 9 o'clock tonight. The majority of that fell in the last hour and a half to 2. So that's a lot of rain, very short amount of time. 1.6 inches there at the Rogers Airport. Fayetteville, Drake Field, they're starting to see some light rain there, but those reports haven't been sent in by the weather sensor. It's not going to amount to flooding out there based off how light it is right now. So let's do this. Let's go back to live radar. What we're going to find is that this is really compactly only impacting northwest Arkansas, specifically Benton County. Now there's rain in Carroll and Madison, even Washington, but the actual heavy activity that has prompted the flooding and the flash flooding really impacting Benton County specifically. Go back in and look at the 12-hour rainfall estimates, and you're going to notice a pretty clear path of where that heaviest rain set up. Really right there along Arkansas 12, between Colcord, I guess on the Oklahoma side, into Arkansas, Gentry, Highfill, Cave Springs, over towards Rogers and Lowell, north of 412. 412 did get a little bit of flooding out there, especially around the Siloam Springs area, north side of town there. You can see those darker reds, which indicates some moderate to heavy accumulations for us. Let me go back here and pick out just a few radar estimates. So right now, let's say Cave Springs, about 5.3 inches is what radar estimates. When you look at the Highfill sensor, we just looked at 4.57, radar indicates 4.4, that's really close. So that radar is probably doing a pretty good job at estimating how much rain has fallen. In Gentry, about 4 inches. I've not seen any reports of some flash flooding out of Gentry, not to say it hasn't happened, but the majority of the reports that I've gotten are Cave Springs, Rogers, in Lowell. In fact, there's some streets closed in the Lowell area that the Rogers Fire Department let us know about, and we've passed those along to you. If we can do that again here in a minute, we'll do just that. But you can see where that swath of rainfall really fell. Lowell, 264 out towards Cave Springs. That's where we saw a lot of rain as well. And there's been some reports of some homes flooded on Brown Road. I saw some reports, some video, in fact, some viewer video of some flooding in an apartment complex, Rainbow Road near Cave Springs, Rogers, right there on that line. So this is ongoing out there here this morning. Good news is, if there's any at all, it is slowly but surely starting to improve for us. We'll go back to live radar. We're going to continue to give you updates as things are calming down. I think our updates are probably going to be fewer and fewer, but I wanted to be here for you this morning until the waters did start to recede. And based off kind of what we're looking at, we've got these 4 warnings in effect. Technically, they run until 2:45. At that point, in theory, should we not get another deluge of rain, a lot of the flooding should have subsided. Main concern right now is going to be in terms of additional flooding. I want to be clear on that. Concern continues for the water still high across Benton County, but the additional flooding, if it were to occur northwest Benton County, so northwest of Decatur, west of Gravette, northwest of Decatur, west of Gravette, you get into Delaware County, Jay, this is where we could probably additionally see 2 to 3 inches of rainfall on top of what we've already received out there right now. things are improving. Let me loop this over again. These aren't really moving any at all. These showers are just dissipating. They're moving at 5 to 10 miles per hour, which in terms of storm motion is nearly non-existent. But if you look at a 1-hour radar loop, things are improving slowly but surely. Dissipating is occurring, becoming a bit more widespread off towards the east. Carroll County from Eureka Springs through Huntsville into northern Madison County. It's more moderate, light to moderate rainfall, so I'm not too concerned with that at the moment. It's really Benton County where we saw a whole bunch of red just park itself, and that's where we started to see those waters rise. Some cars were flooded, things of that nature. Some water rescues have taken place. Maysville Rural Fire Department passed along one of those. Looks like there could have been Sorry about that, folks. My batteries died, the same ones I used for the 10 o'clock newscast. So they're had a good shelf life for them, but that's about it. Other water rescues, yeah, there was some on Wagon Wheel Road, especially West Wagon Wheel over towards Cave Springs. Looks like where they got a big deluge of rain out there. So we're improving. Things are getting better. I know if you've been impacted by these floodwaters this morning, whether that was in your homes, your apartments, your cars, you still see the rain falling, and it's tough to believe that anything would be good news, but it's lighter rain, and that trend is set to continue for the next few minutes. Really need to start watching Gravette. If we are to see some additional flooding in Benton County, Gravette would be an area. Not to say that is going to happen, but it is certainly some more heavy rain that is growing in intensity. Earlier it was light to moderate, and now you start to find some more of those reds indicating some higher returns on the radar. And of course, that could be said also over towards Jay and north of Colcord. Colcord's also included in that original flood warning. Siloam Springs, Gentry, you're also included in this one, going until 2:45 this morning. That probably isn't going to be extended based off of the conditions that we're seeing right now and how things are inevitably improving for us. So good morning to everybody out there. Current time is 1:16 this morning. It is early for us, but things are getting a little bit better in terms of the flooding concerns that we've had earlier. There continues to be some development back off towards Tulsa. We'll have to see what that does. Does it inevitably make its way our direction? Looks like some of it's moving a little bit more north towards the northeast, but we'll continue tracking that for you. Right now, flood warnings continue. I'm going to turn my mic back on mute. I'm going to be right off to the side of the screen here, working on some more information, getting that forecast ready for you. Danny Cassidy will be in here real shortly. We'll pass the baton to him. With that said, Mike's going to be muted. I want to do this. If you have any reports or pictures or video, I'd love to see them. I'm looking at my phone to see if you guys have anything to send to us. 479-785-5000. That's my number here at the station. Come straight to me. I'd love to know what you see, especially if you've been impacted by this or have any reports that we can use to pass along to the Weather Service and local authorities out there that might be responding to these flooding reports. 479-785-5000. Pictures, video, reports, all very helpful out there. Here's live radar scanning the skies. Things are really quiet and clear in the River Valley. This has primarily been a Northwest Arkansas issue. A very compact system of rain developed and didn't move. There's so much moisture in the air, so much humidity, and we felt it in recent days. That just really fueled those showers and allowed them to produce a lot of flooding out there, unfortunately. So I'm going to mute my mic. I'll be right back with you. Give me about, let's say about 10 more minutes, and then we'll give you an update on kind of where things stand. All right, good morning, everybody. 1:40 a.m. on this Friday morning. We continue to track some flash flooding across Benton County. Wanted to give you another update. This will be our last update for this stream, as most of the heaviest of rainfall has weakened. While there is still ongoing flooding, there's numerous roadways that are covered with water. A lot of roads are closed between Lowell, Rogers, Cave Springs, and certainly other areas too, but that seems to be where the waters were the highest, and there was numerous, at least multiple swiftwater rescues out there this morning. Things are in much better shape for us right now. What we'll notice is a lot of yellows and some greens. That indicates some lighter to moderate rainfall. When you look at the loop over the last hour, you're seeing that this is kind of staying in place. So the threat's not entirely over. Our flash flood warnings have been extended until 5 o'clock this morning. At that point, the theory is the water should have receded, and we're probably not going to expect much more to exacerbate those issues. But nonetheless, the moderate but heavy rain continues from Rogers through Bentonville up towards Bella Vista, back over towards Gentry. There is a flash flood warning in effect for Jay and Colcord, West Siloam Springs there in Delaware County as well. Light to moderate rain continues for Fayetteville, Huntsville through Eureka Springs, Clifty, and Hinesville as well. But that's not causing any flooding. It's going to be really in this corridor here where we've got those warnings, where we've seen the flooding. Right now, when you look at rainfall rates, and rainfall rates is a way of seeing how much rain would fall in an hour should that actually continue for that 60-minute window. They're much lower than what they were earlier. This is about a ½ inch an hour or so, which is much better than the 3 inches an hour we were seeing at one point when this event began to unfold. So things are improving for us right now. So I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream. With that said, our crews are already in the field working to gather some more information, and we'll bring you the very latest coming up on your 5 News this morning, which actually begins at 4:30. So that's going to be about 2 hours and 45 minutes from now. They'll have the latest information for you with regards to road closures, impacts, additional flooding there as well. We're going to stay put until we're going to have full meteorologist coverage. So if anything gets out of hand over the next few minutes, we'll be able to bring you some more information right here on the stream over on Channel 5 as well. But things are improving for us right now. If you're in Benton County and you don't have to be out and about, I would stay put. I certainly wouldn't cross any flooded roadways. That's where you get yourself into trouble. It's cliche, but the saying, turn around, don't drown. There's a lot of truth to it. All right.